Good afternoon. Thank you. Srimati Deepthi Mary Varghese, Jayant, and my media friends. My name is Professor Rajeev Gawda, former Member of Parliament, AICC spokesperson, Chairman of the AICC Research Department. Today, we want to bring to your attention how the Modi Sarkar has bungled the GST regime and caused immense hardship and disruption in different ways. You've seen the recent controversy over popcorn, if it was with salt, one particular rate, if it is with sugar, another particular rate. It's basically, they've turned the GST process into a mockery. This GST is something that the Congress party in the UPA years had come up with, and today, in our conception, it was supposed to be a good and simple tax. It was supposed to be a simplification. But what the government has turned it into is a total complication that defeats the very purpose for why it was established. For example, one of the chief economic advisors, Arvind Subramanian, he has said that this is a national tragedy, violating the spirit of the good and simple tax, and instead we are moving in the direction of complexity, which is going to make enforcement difficult, and it's just irrational. Today, instead of having just 1 or 2 or 3 slabs, you have 9 GST rates. On top of that, you have all kinds of cesses, maybe 50 different cesses. So it's just one more complicated mechanism that makes life very difficult. Why do we have this complication? Well, clearly the government likes this because there is a lot of evasion also happening. And when you look at what the government's approach has been, they like to give tax cuts to billionaires, they like to hurt the common people. So if you look at the evasion that is taking place, the evasion was 2 lakh crores of GST was evaded in the last financial year, double of what was there in the previous year. And 18,000 fraudulent entities were uncovered. So there's a lot of fraud going on. This government has not been able to enforce the discipline required to create a clean GST regime. Now, in the 6 years since the GST was brought in, 6-7 years, it was passed in 2017. I was in Parliament at that time, and we all talked about how it was very important to get many things sorted out before the program is unveiled, but they rushed through it, and they've made more than 200 circulars, 900 clarifications. The rules are ever changing, and when this happens, who is affected? Small business. Because today, one rule says something, tomorrow something else, and small businesses spend a huge amount of time and effort trying to comply with the paperwork that's required, the amount of effort that goes into making sure that the GST, that companies are paying the GST, the small businesses, they're paying a huge price. It's hurting the cost of business, making it difficult for them to stay alive. Now you know that this government favors the rich and really has always hurt the poor and the middle class. The GST is an indirect tax. We pay it on goods and services that we consume. Now, income tax is what we call a progressive tax. Only people who are beyond a certain level, who are rich enough, who are in certain slabs, they pay the income tax. But even the poor pay GST because that's how the system is levied. So when this happens, when you levy 18% tax on health insurance, for example, that means for all of us, something so crucial like health insurance becomes unaffordable. And then, whenever there is a health crisis in the family, families fall back into poverty. So this is the result of this irrational approach that this government has, which hurts the poor, hurts the middle class, and really makes it very, very difficult to make ends meet. And the government instead, what does it do? It says, we have record-breaking collections every month or every quarter, right? Who is that coming from? It's coming from you and me, from the poor and the middle class. It's not coming from the rich, because the rich pay a smaller proportion of GST, they get input tax credit, etc. Now, the other thing to remember is that this government is for the cronies, by the cronies, of the cronies. A few years ago, they gave a huge tax cut to the rich business people in this country. And, what is the result of that? End result is nothing. They just pocketed it. They didn't invest more. They didn't do anything to create more jobs. Okay. So that's the level of confidence that the private sector has in this economy that's managed by these people. Now, there are some other issues that are relevant from the point of view of our southern states. I am coming here from Karnataka. Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. These 5 states contribute a lot of GST to the national exchequer. But what is our share of tax that comes back to us? Let me read it out to you. This is from the government reply in the Rajya Sabha in 2024 February. While Tamil Nadu, the 5 states contributed over 22.26 lakh crore through GST and direct taxes in the past 5 years, only 6.42 lakh crore has come back to them. In contrast, Uttar Pradesh contributed 3.41 lakh crores in the 5 years and was given double the amount for itself. So, if for every rupee paid in GST and direct tax, Kerala has got between 80 to 50 paisa. This kept coming down over the last few years. Now, we don't have a problem that more backward states get a bigger share, but don't ignore us at times when we absolutely need resources. You know what happened in Wayanad a few months ago. You had landslides, you had a tragedy, and the previous MP, the current MP, everyone appealed to the central government, declare this as a national tragedy, as a disaster, give funds. In the absence of the central government giving funds, we don't have, because of the GST regime, we don't have other ways of raising money, right? And it took a long time for the government to provide that money. So at times like this, we wonder, why have we been, shortchanged by this government when it comes to GST regime, which we all took part in voluntarily. We also took part, all the states, and we said we're going to get 5 years compensation until 2022 for lost revenue. What happened during COVID? The government, central government, unilaterally cut that. The states are at the front line, facing the COVID crisis head on, and the resources that they need to get from the GST regime, they were denied that. So this government, if you look at the track record, they have continuously bungled the GST. They have countered the contract that states participated in with the central government, and essentially what they have done is they have treated the states, especially the southern states, as stepchildren, and they have not responded with the kind of support that is required at times of national disaster. Now, what do? In the 2024 election manifesto, the Congress party, and again earlier, 2019 manifesto, I was convener of the National Manifesto Committee at that time, we have come up with ways to reform the GST process. And we're going to reiterate what suggestions we had made. Why? We want to improve the system. We know that the central government likes to copy our ideas. They've already copied our apprenticeship proposal and created this internship program, which may or may not work the way they implemented it. But at least they've taken one constructive idea from us and they're implementing it. Well, here's what our ideas were for GST. We want a new regime which is based on a single moderate rate with exceptions for necessities, which will be possibly a zero rate, and a higher rate for luxuries and what we call public bads like cigarettes and alcohol and tobacco and gambling and things like that. We want a simple tax, which will be at a moderate rate, which is what we need. I'm sure that a tax rate of 10-11% will be sufficient to be revenue neutral in today's economy, instead of all this complication rates and also the 18 and above for things like health insurance. We would not levy GST on agricultural inputs. Farmers are hurt by this. We need to recreate the GST Council, and we need to make sure that a portion of GST revenues will go to panchayats and municipalities, the third tier of government, which doesn't have direct funding right now. We also want small GST payers to come under the purview of state governments rather than only one central regime. And a lot of shopkeepers, small retail businesses are facing intense competition from these e-commerce platforms. We want to make sure that they are given significant tax relief. There's more, you can look at it in the manifesto, but fundamentally we are bringing this issue up because this government under Modi Sarkar basically keeps claiming record collections. They are not delivering on the design of a simple and transparent tax. They are out there squeezing money out of the poor and the middle class. They are allowing terrible mismanagement and leakages. They're benefiting the capitalist cronies while all of us suffer, while farmers suffer because GST is levied on inputs. People are suffering because health insurance and things which are necessities are taxed at 18%, and we see all this frivolous nonsense about the kind of tax that you have to pay on different types of popcorn. Enough of this popcorn economics. Pay attention to governance. We've got suggestions. At least steal those ideas and improve this. Thank you.
Mr. Gawda, Kerala has been raising this demand for quite some time regarding GST share from Sandapur. But they also allege that the Congress MPs from Kerala are not really giving them the support. Instead of taking on the center, they are pointing their fingers to the state government. So how do you think the whole situation is going to emerge when you say raise the same allegation here? I mean, the center's share from GST is not enough for the Kerala state. So how are we going to have a consensus among your two parties here, two friends here too?
So I would not accept their argument that we are not supportive of this idea. Karnataka MPs raise this issue all the time, and Kerala, our Congress MPs would also raise these issues because these are matters of the state. These are not related to political parties alone, and therefore we want more resources to devolve without necessarily hurting those states that are also in need. We're not saying it has to be equal share, but we're saying we need more as well. Don't hurt those states that are doing well, that need to develop even further. So I reject that allegation from the Kerala CPM and basically point out that please reach out to us. We are also still part of a larger alliance in Parliament and at the national level, and let us figure out ways to change the way this government, the central government, deals with this issue when it comes to devolution of taxes to various states, especially Kerala. Any other questions? It's a technical issue, but it's an issue that matters. So please think about getting the message out to the people that what we have today is a pale imitation of what was envisaged, and we need a much better system. We have ideas for improving, we're not only criticizing, and we want this government to do a better job for the sake of the people. Thank you.